Everybody, welcome back to the Pursuing Excellence podcast. I'm your host, Jay Gay, here today with Miss Kimberly Holmes. She is the founder of the Black America Cares Foundation. Miss Holmes, we appreciate you joining us for the podcast tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just who is Kimberly Holmes?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So I am from the Washington, D.C. area, born and raised. Um, I, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. I'm an author. I am the CEO of the nonprofit Black America Cares. I am also a podcast host and just really got a lot going on. I'm in the process now of getting ready to release a book. I'm working on starting a computer training program, which is what really changed and saved my life. So the book is going to be based on that. It's going to be an ebook, but I'm also going to offer it in other different platforms. And so I've got that going on. That's really a task that is not as easy as I thought that it would be. It's a lot to that, but that's pretty much it. As far as the nonprofit, so there was a time once when I was raising my kids, I was young. I worked in the federal government, which most people from Washington, D.C. tend to do, and I was secretary. But oftentimes, even though you have a job, sometimes it's still kind of tough to make ends meet. And so I ran into a situation at one time. I had two kids, really young, and I couldn't pay my electric bill. And so I asked around. I went to different social services places. I went to the different nonprofit organizations like the Salvation Army and all those type places, trying to get assistance. I think I only needed maybe like $200, and it was a long, long time ago. But I only needed like 200 bucks, and I couldn't get it. Nobody would give it to me. Social services said, "Well, because you work, you make too much money, you just don't qualify." So unfortunately, me and my kids had to sit in the dark until my next payday. And so one of the things that I promised myself from that experience was, if and when I get out of that and I get in a position where I can help people, then that's what I'm going to do. So that's how Black America Cares started. I wanted to be able to assist people who work, who may be struggling with paying a utility bill, or maybe short on their rent or whatever, and just kind of help them out. And $200 really isn't a lot of money, but it's a lot when you don't have it.
Yeah.
So that's how the nonprofit started. And as you can imagine, that's been really challenging too, because it's often more need than funding available. But we do the best we can to just try to make sure that people get the help that they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah. So, and I can tell you how the idea came for the podcast. So the podcast is called, initially it was called the Nonprofit Showcase. But I changed it because I wanted it to be really geared toward the African American community, and I wanted to include more guests. So I changed it from the nonprofit showcase to the Black Nonprofit and Business Podcast. So I speak to leaders of nonprofit organizations and Black owned businesses, and I get them to share their stories about what they do, what made them get started, some of the challenges, some of the solutions, and things like that. So that's been really interesting because I had no idea. Actually, when I started my nonprofit, I would get a lot of requests and calls from people asking for help because Black America Cares, that's a broad name.
Right.
And so people were asking me for assistance in areas that I don't provide services for. But I didn't want to just tell them no. So I would look for a nonprofit that could help them with the things that they specifically needed. And so in my research, I was coming across all kinds of nonprofit organizations. I mean, it is amazing, and it's ran by us. They say a lot of times that Black people don't like to help Black people. We don't look out for each other. That's That's a lie. That's just not true. There are literally, I belong to a organization called, or I'm part of a group. I shouldn't say it's an organization, but I'm part of a group called Blacks in Nonprofits. There are literally over 25,000 Black led nonprofits in this group.
Wow.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of services out there. And I figured, okay, since so many people aren't aware of what's out there, I kind of, searched around, see if I could find a podcast that was doing what I was doing. Nobody else is doing it. And so I'm proud of that. And I'm letting people know the different opportunities and services that are out here for them, and they can get the help that they need. So that's pretty much it.
Most definitely. So, can you speak on the importance of persistence and discipline, and why do you believe that that is, you know, so important in life right now, especially now in these trying times, and just the notion of just continuing to do the right thing, having that patience, and just continue to focus on what needs to be done.
Well, it really is important. And I like the fact that there's such an age difference between us. I commend you. I think you're, what, like 19 or something?
Yes.
So, yeah, so I have a grandson your age, believe it or not. So I think this is really cool. But you cannot take no for an answer. If there's something that you really want to do, I hear a lot of people, especially, no, I was going to say in my age group, but no, it's across the board. You hear it from age, I would say 15 all the way up to 85. People coming up with reasons and excuses for why this can't happen and why that can't happen. And it's the man doing this and all that type of stuff. And it's not to say that there aren't those challenges, they are there. But I'm in the process right now of reading this book. It's by Dr. Dennis Kimbro. It's called Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice. And I don't know if you're familiar with Think and Grow Rich. If you're not, it's by Napoleon Hill. I highly, highly, all of your listeners, all of y'all, get this book. Every millionaire that I encounter has read Think and Grow Rich. Well, Dennis Kimbrough wrote the black version of that. And there are dozens and dozens of stories of black people who persevered. And this is during the time when racism was like at its peak, with Jim Crow and in the 60s and even in the 50s and even in the 70s, it was more challenging than it is now. And so, through all of those challenges and obstacles, these people persevered and created great businesses and, just really successful lives. And they just refuse to give up. So, if you really want something bad enough, I don't care what gets in your way, there's a way to do it. Just don't take no for an answer. I don't take no for an answer. You know, when I started my podcast, I went on YouTube to learn how to do it because I had no idea, you know, and I don't do audio. I don't do video. I just do audio. And then I had to learn how to upload it and learn how to find a platform to host it on. And, I got this microphone here. This is a snowball, yeah, snowball microphone, and had to learn about that and learn about interviewing people and all of that. But I was determined I want to do this podcast. So I did it. Um, right now, I'm learning how to set everything up to sell these ebooks. And it is not easy. It's a lot that goes through all the different platforms that you have to become familiar with. You got to set up Stripe. You got to set up whatever digital platform you're going to
Yep.
use to download it on. It is a lot. And you just keep going though. If you really want it, I'm looking at other people that's doing it. And I'm saying, okay, well, if they can figure it out, I can too. So just don't quit. Just quitting is not an option. If you want success, it's not an option.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the issue now, especially in believing my generation more. Even though there's, like you say, it can go across the board, but I feel like in my generation, which an issue is, our crew, that door closes and we continue to think that that's that's it, that's the end of the story. When actually the opposite is true. When one door closes, another one is open. You just have to go and make an attempt, to open that door. A closed door doesn't mean a locked door. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Sometimes if you actually go and try, you make the effort, you may never know what the results could produce. And so I feel like that's a prevalent issue now in modern society with our youth, and it's something that needs to change.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said it's so important. I mean, I said I'm reading the book Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, but I'm actually listening to the audio version because I
Right.
just prefer that because I can listen to it in the car while I'm driving. And I'm telling you, it's just so inspirational to hear these stories about these people. And, they talk about the guy that started Black Enterprise, John Johnson, who started Ebony and Jet, and everybody is in there. One of my personal heroes, who I have always loved, and I don't know, she may be in the book, she may not. I may not have gotten to her yet, but everybody knows about TV One, right? The channel, the cable channel on TV, and the radio stations with Steve Harvey and all of them. Well, the person who started that is Kathy Hughes, and she's from, well, she's not from DC, but a lot of her work started here in DC. And she talked about how this is a really good example of the perseverance thing. So when she first decided that she wanted her first radio station, she needed a loan to be able to acquire it. She was turned down 32 times
Wow.
by the banks. Can you imagine? She went to over 30 banks to try to get them to give her a loan. And finally, the 32nd person told her yes. And she was able to get her first radio station, which is now has grown into, I don't even know how many radio stations she has now. And again, with the whole cable channel, TV One, and it's just phenomenal, her story. But she's an example of what can happen. How many of us would have quit after the third bank said no?
Right.
And definitely the 10th one. I probably would have quit after the 10th one. I'd been, you know what, this is wasting my time. But yeah, she kept going. So if it's something inside of you that you feel like this is something that you're supposed to do, then you keep pressing, keep pushing, make it happen.
That's it. Make it happen.
Mm.
It's very simple. Again, you never know until you make the attempt and you go and try and you just keep going, keep going. They say a lot of people are afraid. I think another thing is, a lot of people are afraid to fail. And
Mhm.
they're afraid to go through any type of adversity or challenge, but those in fact grow you and shape you. So that's another thing I'm a big believer in. So what would you say are the challenges of being a black female leading such an organization, a business in today's world, in today's society?
I think the main thing is people really taking you serious. You know, I have very, very lofty ideas, like I said. And so the majority of as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, all of the people that I have gone to ask like how they started certain things with regard to what I'm working on now, which is the computer training program, which will be a part of Black America Cares. They're all men. Every single one of them is men, and it's almost like, I'm sure you guys have heard about breaking through a glass ceiling. That's what I feel like I'm doing right now. I'm sure it's probably a white female somewhere who's already done what I aspire to do, but I want to go to us, people that look like me, who are providing this type of opportunity to people who look like me and you. And so it's not easy. I don't know. I don't really know how. they feel. I don't know if they don't take me serious. I don't know what the difficulty is, but I'm just not really getting any straightforward answers. It's like, okay, where did you guys go? What did you guys do? How can I, tap into the funding and all the things that's needed to go along with what I want to do? And so I think being just again, I don't know if they think I'm just fooling around, if they don't take me serious. I don't know. But that seems to be challenging. Getting someone who's willing to just kind of sit with me and kind of show me one on one what they did so I can implement some of the strategies and ideas that they did into my program.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it's a big problem now in this world. As you say, just as it's hard enough to get traction on a lot of things for us in this world, but let alone being a female and like yourself and just having. And I really think it's cool how you have built this organization up, and the goals and purposes that you guys have within the foundation. I commend them. They're very important because there's so many opportunities out here, and there's so many people that are struggling. So it's important that we help each other because we all live in this world together. So I believe we're called upon to help others.
Yeah.
And to because then again that in turn can help you as well. So most
Yeah,
definitely.
actually, the whole IT thing was the game changer for me. So, like I said before, as I was working all those years as a secretary, I really wasn't making enough money. And literally, a manager who I had been a secretary for, she sent her secretary to me to offer me a job. I didn't even really apply for it, but they liked the way I work, and that's a lesson for you guys. Good work ethic gets you noticed, right? People see you, and if they think that you are an asset to what they're trying to do, if they think that you can help make their team and their efforts better, then you won't even have to apply for a job. They will come looking for you. And so that was what happened with me. Long story short, I transitioned from that into IT, and I'm gonna tell y'all, I was scared, honestly, because when they first asked me, I'm like, I don't know anything about computers. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I could do it. I was nervous. Um, but the secretary pulled me aside. She said, Kim, come here, let me show you something. She said, do you know that people in IT are on a different pay scale? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And she said, well, let me show you how much you'll be making. And when she showed me that, that was all I needed to see. I was like, whatever it is I need to learn, I will learn it. I will get it. It was an instant $10,000 raise.
Wow.
Yeah. So because and since then I have gotten my salary has quadrupled, right? Um, and so because that was such a game changer in my life, now I want other people to experience that too. So if you working in a job that you hate, you working at like a no nothing against Walmart, but we all know that they low wage jobs, right? Low wage jobs, fast food restaurants, period. You out here stuck trying to do Uber, doing whatever you can to try to make ends meet. I know IT isn't for everybody, but I thought it wasn't for me until I started doing it. And so, because it changed my life so much, now I'm determined to help other people change their lives through careers in IT as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get the program. I'm going through a perseverance situation right now. I'm gonna get it.
Hey, that's
I'm
it.
gonna get it.
Yes, ma'am. So, now as you know, Ms. Holmes, we struggle right now very much with a lot of gang violence, just violence in general in this world today. So many young, innocent children, especially young black innocent children, have lost their lives. What do you believe is because again it's so prevalent. It's something every day you turn on the news, you see somebody losing their life. So what you believe should be done to help diminish these issues and keep our youth just safe?
Okay. Well, I'm going to share what I did, and I just put it a little something about that on my Twitter, and it got a lot of traction, right? A lot of people made a lot of comments and what have you. Honestly, for me, I was raising a son, single mom. When my son was like 7, 8 years old, first of all, I believe in the power of words. I believe in affirmation. I believe that you have to be careful about what you speak to your children. All of that's important. Your younger viewers and listeners, they may not have kids now, or they may, right? But always remember that. A lot of times we have a tendency to look at our kids and say, "Oh, he's so bad, and he don't make no sense. He always in trouble. And he's so stupid." Just saying stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not realizing that that's energy. Those words are energy. So I would always tell my son, you will not be a statistic. You will not be a statistic. I would say that all the time. So that's number one. Be careful about it, starts at home. So parents, be careful about the words that you speak to your children. Be intentional about the words that you speak. The other thing that I did was I got my son involved in organized sports. So he was, like I said, 7 or 8 years old, and we got him, or I got him involved on a basketball team, basketball league. It was amazing. It was absolute. The coach not only taught them about sportsmanship, but he taught them about life. There was this one guy who really had a bad attitude when they would lose, and he would start throwing stuff and just, he clearly had some anger issues. Little shorty, little young boy, already developing those tendencies, right? So the
Right.
coach would take him aside and really talk to him and say, look, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. This is how you're supposed to handle it. All those types of situations. Um, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I think I got more into the games than the kids did because I mean, I loved it. And so, get them, these young kids. I say go as early as 5 now, because now they have access to so much with the
Right.
internet and computers and phones and stuff. So you have to catch them as early as possible and get them involved in organizations, with mentors, other men who can help teach them and train them about just life skills overall. Um, they need to understand really the value of life. I think that's the main thing. People just don't value life. So they kill you without even batting an eye. They don't think about how it impacts the whole family. This person has a mother, a sister, a father, a brother, grandmother, people who love this individual, and for somebody to just kill somebody without even caring, I think that those type of topics need to be dealt with not only at home, but they need to incorporate that in schools. And again, start really, really early. Um, I think that kids need exposure. And this goes back to, again, why I started the podcast, right?
Yeah.
How can you find these programs if you don't know they're out there? And so I put a message out, as a matter of fact, saying anybody who has a nonprofit organization that services the youth, and this includes girls too, because they off the chain too, right? Reach out to me. Let's talk about it. Let's get your information out there so that people can find you. So I think it's important to get these kids involved in various activities, after school, and making sure that um, they're trained mentally to understand these things. As far as the youth that are out there now, that's tough because it's going to take reprogramming their mind. Everything starts with mindset,
Yeah.
and they need somebody who can not only help them, I guess, change the way they think. Um, Talking, I don't think, is enough. They need to be exposed to different things. They need to see. even as far as other parts of the world, let them see that there's so much more beyond just the hood that they're growing up in and the craziness that they're growing up in. And it's going to take all of us, it's going to take the Black community as a whole to get out here and to try to help these kids. If a single mom can't get her son to a program, somebody go pick them up and take them. If your kid is involved in this activity, you call and say, "Hey, you want your son to come? I'm dropping mine off. I can pick him up too." It's going to take community and everybody working together to help save some of our youth.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
what I think.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
going to take all of us, as you said. It's going to take all of us,
Yeah.
and I like how you mentioned exposure. That's extremely important. Just make sure
Hmm.
that you're trying to expose your kids to the right things, and the right people as well. To have mentors, as you said, in your life, in their lives that can help educate them on not just like you said, sports or anything like that as well, but as more so, it's how life works and those true values they need to learn at a very early age. So, but Ms. Holmes, we do appreciate you coming on the podcast tonight on Pursuing Excellence. Very much appreciate your time, and thank you for informing us more about the Black America Cares Foundation. And so, was there anything you'd like to tell your the viewers specifically, and where can they find your podcast?
Sure. So everything is on the website. My website is blackamericacares.org. And so if you go there, you'll see a tab to that will take you directly to the website. Also, I have a separate website for the podcast itself. That is Black Nonprofits and Businesses.com. I know that's a long name, but Black Nonprofits with an S and Businesses.com. And you can go there and you can listen to all of the different episodes that I've already done. Um, Also, I mean, just stay tuned for the training program. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. So my goal is to have this up and running. I don't want to have to charge anybody for being a part of that. Again, all of that is on blackAmericaCares.org. But can I ask you a question?
Of course, please.
Okay. So you are a young man. How are you 20 yet? I think
19.
you said you're 19.
Yes.
So you are clearly different from a lot of 19-year-olds out here, right? So, what would you attribute to your mindset? Like, what makes you you as opposed to some of these crazy youngins out here?
I would just say this environment I was raised in a family we value hard work and discipline, and as you say, perseverance and just being yourself, being true to who you are and who God has made you to be. God is very present in our home, in our family, and that's the way I was raised in a Christian home, and so I truly do value just hard work and getting after it and just not conforming to the world and the identity of the world because they want you to be a certain thing or act a certain way, but that's not true because at the end of the day, you can only be yourself. So that's just how my mind is operating.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of that too, I grew up in the church as well. I'm a PK actually, and one more little plug. I wrote a book. Even though I'm a preacher's daughter, I got involved with a major drug dealer here in DC. And that's a whole story in and of itself. I wrote a book about it. I'm now working on a script for it to become a movie. It's called From Hustlers to Holiness. And I tell my whole story about how I got involved with this guy, how truly it was God that kept me from going to jail because I really should have went to jail some of the stuff that I did. But I my purpose for that is to help these young women know, you know, all of the glitz and the glamour and all of that stuff that comes along with being involved with a drug dealer is just not worth it. I have friends who lost their life as a result of that. And, everybody just stay tuned from hustlers to holiness.
Absolutely, great news. Great to hear that. But yes, thank you again for coming on, everybody. For Miss Kimberly Holmes, course, leader of the Black America Cares nonprofit organization. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate it. You have a blessed one.
Thank you so much for having me. You
Of
too.
course.
And keep doing what you're doing. Keep pursuing excellence.
Yes, I will. Thank you, guys. Make sure you check us here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That's where we're at. Make sure you subscribe and check us out. And once again, we will see you next time. Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye. Take care.